Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Tuesday?
I'm great.
You're great. All right. We got a lot to talk about. Week 3 is in the books. Another interesting week. A couple upset picks there. One that was kind of expected. The Carolina Panthers did take a nice fat W against the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's actually the topic that we're going to start with because I think it's quite interesting. So Andy Dalton comes in once again for Bryce Young after he got benched. And what did Andy Dalton do? The only thing that Andy Dalton has done on the Carolina Panthers. Throw for over 300 yards, multiple touchdowns, high completion percentage. It's what he does. Bryce Young, on the other hand, sub 60% completion percentage. Doesn't look that great, last in every category. But yeah, no, this Carolina Panthers team is different with Andy Dalton out there, and you could see it. It's very, very clear. Dave Canales' system, his scheme, works beautifully underneath a veteran quarterback like Andy Dalton. I do want to have you guys listen to Andy Dalton in the post-game talking about his performance and the team's performance after taking down the Las Vegas Raiders 36-22. Take a listen.
I mean, it felt great, obviously, for me to get an opportunity to be out there and for it to go the way it did. Couldn't have drawn it up any better. I thought our guys came out with the right attitude, the right mentality from the start, and we never slowed down. And that was the fun part about it. No, it's not me. It's the process of it. It's the process that Dave has been preaching. And the way this game went today, it was exactly how you wanted it to go. They're not all going to go this way. But for us to come out and do what we did, it shows the potential of what we can be.
And I think that's spot on. The Panthers look completely different. Andy Dalton runs this system better, and Dave Canales even said moving forward that Andy Dalton will be the quarterback, although there is still some hope, and there's been reports out there that Bryce Young will return this season. I think it really depends on what the Panthers want to do. I think developing Bryce Young the way it is, clearly it hasn't worked with Dave Canales, who made Geno Smith a comeback player of the year with basically 70% completion percentage in a playoff appearance, and made Baker Mayfield come back from his career, that pretty poor start to his career, refine him, and turn him into the quarterback he is now. And now he goes over to Bryce Young to be the savior, and it's basically the same. If not, it's worse, because the numbers speak for themselves. I brought this up before on the show. This is Bryce Young for his entire career and his rankings. Dead last in everything. Record, completion percentage, passing yards a game, touchdown interception ratio, passer rating. And what's crazy is that I just think it's the vision he doesn't see, because Andy Dalton, the offensive line is not the problem. It was a pretty decent problem last year, but this year it's not. It's actually rated, according to Pro Football Focus, for pass block percentage efficiency. It's the highest in the league. So it's not an offensive line problem. The numbers back that up. Andy Dalton had the quickest time to throw. He was seeing it clearly against a Raiders defense with Antonio Pierce that everybody loves. The Raiders actually, I think surprisingly, have one of like middle. I think a lot of people thought they'd be dead last, including myself, in coverage, right? They're actually about middle of the pack. So, I mean, after this appearance, going into this game, they were middle of the pack. After this appearance, they took a decent hit. But this offense, this team is better. They were able to run the ball significantly better. Chuba Hubbard had a very good game because they were able to pass. It wasn't, okay, we hand the ball. If it doesn't work, let's have Bryce Young dink and dunk and make a mistake every now and then. It looked much better. Deontay Johnson was getting catches. Adam Thielen looked great. Now he's on the IR after this game. He caught a touchdown pass and hurt himself, but this offense looked better. The team looked better. The defense was able to get pressure to Minshew. And really, I mean, this was one of Minshew's worst games because he just could not see the field. We're going to be talking about stuff that head coach of the Raiders, Antonio Pierce, had to say after this game. But Minshew was not seeing the field well. I think that's in large part due to the pressure that the Panthers were getting on Gardner Minshew and breaking up the offensive line of the Raiders. So I think when it comes to Andy Dalton, he should be the starter moving forward. I think this was the nail in the coffin for Bryce Young. I don't think there's really any hope that you could revive his career here. And we've seen a number of quarterbacks, one being Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith, where they've had to stop at a couple of places to then they find the right spot, the right situation, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, where's this quarterback we've been waiting to see for so long? This very well could be that situation with Bryce Young. But when it comes to his time in Carolina, I know there's reports going out there saying he's coming back. That would probably be the worst thing for him. Because this appearance of Andy Dalton to again put up 300-plus yards and 3 touchdowns, by the way, he's the first quarterback this season to do it. It's crazy to believe in a league of Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, name a quarterback. Andy Dalton on his first appearance with the Carolina Panthers was the first quarterback this season to throw 300-plus yards and 3 touchdowns and on 70% completion percentage. It's not coaching. It's not the offensive line. It's not a bad defense. It's just bad quarterback play. And Andy Dalton proved it. So the worst thing for the Panthers to do would say, you know what? Let's just say, just for instance, the Panthers right now, their schedule looks like this. They go up against the Bengals, Bears, Falcons, Commanders, Broncos, Saints, Giants. That's up until their bye week on week 11. So weeks 4 through 10. You're going to tell me, let's say, my guess is they'll probably lose to the Bengals, but I think it'll be close. The Bears are completely abysmal right now. Their offense can't get going. Offensive line can't hold up. The Falcons, they're ticky-tack. Obviously we just saw what happened against the Chiefs. The Falcons play pretty well. But there are a couple games in here where if Andy Dalton just plays better than Bryce Young, they could actually pick up a couple wins, maybe against the Broncos. The Commanders have the worst secondary in the league. The Saints, are they pretenders or contenders? And then the Giants, I don't know what to say about the Giants. They're very, very confusing. But let's just say Andy Dalton from weeks 4 to 10 goes, let's go 5-3 or 4-4. Because why not? Or, sorry, 4-3. Let's say 4-3. Why put Bryce Young out there? Bryce Young would go out there against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Bucs, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, the Bucs again, and the Falcons. He would get absolutely curb stomped in the first game after the bye against the Kansas City Chiefs. This should be Andy Dalton's team moving forward. Give Andy Dalton the short-term contract. Have him say, you know what? You look good here. Dave Canales did a good job. And it might not even be Dave Canales. It could just be that Andy Dalton just fits this offense better, fits this team better. Because I don't think anyone realized that he was really in the league until, you know what? He was the backup. I mean, we haven't seen him. We've seen him for one game last season, but since then, it's basically been we haven't seen him. So this team looks, I'm not saying this is a playoff team. Not saying this is even a good team. It's a better team with Andy Dalton out there. I think it's time for the Panthers to already, it could be a Josh Rosen thing, say, you know what? We screwed up. This is not great. We failed. Now, it doesn't help with the lack of consistency, which I covered on the show before. The turnstile of head coaches and coordinators. That's on David Tepper not being able to run the team properly. But as it currently stands, Bryce Young, it just doesn't work. Have him move on. Have him be a backup behind another quarterback. But in Carolina, I don't think he should come back. I think really, like I said, when he got benched, time of death, week 2 in the 26-3 loss against the Chargers, because that was bad. Think about this. In 2 games of this season, Bryce Young and his offense scored 13 points. Andy Dalton nearly tripled that in 1 week. Took Bryce Young 2 games to get 13 points. Took Andy Dalton 1 game to nearly triple that. Against the pass rush of Christian Wilkins and of Max Crosby. So, I think it's time. Bryce Young, I think right now, because we call people busts, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, and now they're like, okay, you know what? They might actually be okay. No, but I think when it comes to Bryce Young, this is officially time of death, week 2 against the Los Angeles Chargers, 26-3, and he got benched. This should be Andy Dalton's team probably for the rest of the season. I would not advise. I'm not obviously a owner, GM, scout, whatever. I'm not an executive of the Carolina Panthers, but I think you cannot put Bryce Young out there if Andy Dalton goes out and plays this well at this level. You just can't. It'd be a bad look. And then think about this. If they do send them out when Andy Dalton's doing this, and they do poorly again, that's a horrible look. It's not Dave Canales, not the offensive line, not the defensive line, not the secondary, not the poor running game, not the coaching. It's Bryce Young. He just wasn't ready to play. I would not play him again in 2024. That's just my take. All right, let's get into our next topic, though, because this was crazy. Last night, Monday Night Football, there were 2 games on last night. Bengals, Commanders, that was a hell of a game. Jaden Daniels, is incredible. But this game, Bills, Jaguars, Bills absolutely dominated Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence at times looked completely lost. In the second half, he seemed to pick it up, and in the fourth quarter especially, he picked it up. But Josh Allen, very, very dominant. 4 touchdowns, over 300 total yards. James Cook again scored another touchdown in this game, while Trevor Lawrence made a couple very, very poor decisions. Couldn't get the offense going. Defense couldn't stop Josh Allen. I want to know, though, what was your takeaway from last night's game between the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars?
The Bills' offense couldn't be stopped, and it's panic time for the Jags. Those are my 2 big takeaways from this game. The game was over at halftime. The score was 34-3 in favor of the Bills. The Bills' offense scored on the first 5 drives, TDs. Josh Allen had a magnificent first half, 4 TDs, 247 yards passing. He was 6 for 6. 77 yards and 2 TDs on third down. He just played great. I mean, he's moved into the leading spot for the MVP. The Bills are undefeated. The Jags haven't won a game. Allen led TD drives on first 5 possessions. The Bills have scored 30 points or more in each of the first 3 games. First time they've done that. Well, they've done it only 5 times in their history. Allen passed Mahomes, as I said, for the best MVP odds. Pivotal play, I think, was Hamlin's interception when Lawrence threw it right to him on this play, which it was 13-0, and the Jags seemed to be moving the ball, and that would have brought it back 13-7 if they could have scored a touchdown.
20-3. It's 20-3.
Oh, I'm sorry. At that point, it was 20-3. So even then, it could have been 20-10, and then they might have gotten themselves back into the game. But it wasn't to be. As I said, it was 34-3 at halftime, 37-7 at the end of the third quarter, and 47-10 at the end. It was just a blowout. And if you look at the Jags, they were totally dominated by the Bills. Only 6 teams have started 0-3 since 1979 and made the playoffs. I would say the Jags are heading in the wrong direction, and particularly since they have Houston next. Houston got beat by the Vikings. They're going to be looking to rebound, and they're playing at home. I'd say there's a good chance the Jaguars could be 0-4. Then they have the Colts, Chicago, and the Patriots, which are a little easier. But they were 1-5 at the end of last season, and now they've started 0-3. They could be 0-4. I think that puts a lot of pressure on Peterson. People are going to be looking for his head here pretty soon if he doesn't get a winning record started. The defense, it was a debacle. They allowed 34 points in the first half, most in franchise history. They're down 2 starters in the secondary and 1 linebacker. These injuries make it tough for them because they like to play a lot of man coverage, which the Jags like to do, and they can't do that with these injuries. As I said, I don't think their chances against Houston are very good, given the wide receiver core that Houston has and the fact that Houston lost against the Vikings. They're going to be looking to bounce back. I guess the one plus for the Jaguars you could mention was that Kirk has gotten more involved. He gets 7 catches in this game. Before this, he only had 2 catches on 7 targets and 29 yards in the first 2 games. I mean, he's their go-to wide receiver. I think the Jags, they look like a very weak team to me.
Absolutely they do. I think the Jaguars made one crucial mistake, and it's a mistake a lot of people point out, and you actually just pointed out. What the hell are the Jaguars doing playing man defense? I understand your new DC, Ryan Nielsen, plays the most man defense in the league for this year, but you can't do that against Josh Allen. The previous 2 times that he played Josh Allen played Jacksonville, he had an 80.8 passer rating, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 66% completion percentage, and they're both losses. And instead, you go up against Josh Allen playing man defense, and in those 2 games, 82% zone, 78% zone. I have a number here. You can't play zone defense, or you can't play man defense against Josh Allen because on early downs, this is what Josh Allen does against man and zone. He eats up man completely. 42 touchdowns to 4 picks. Meanwhile, zone defense, 27 touchdowns to only to 29 interceptions. Josh Allen does not do well against zone defense. So what are you doing coming out here and basically only playing man? Not only does Josh Allen eat it up completely, but you also don't have the personnel to run a zone defense. So this Buffalo Bills team looks absolutely different than it has before. Because we've seen Josh Allen be super dependent on Stephon Diggs. We've seen him be super dependent on himself and be that Superman type of a quarterback. Now, this looks like probably the most balanced team in the NFL. They're running it much more than they have in the past. Joe Brady's doing a phenomenal job maintaining the run and the pass, because now Josh Allen only needs to make the easy passes, the ones that are wide open, and let James Cook and also Ray Davis and Ty Johnson to do their jobs of just getting like the chunk yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards. That's all they're going to do. And if Josh Allen needs to, like he did against Arizona, he could become the Superman that we all know him to be and make the big-time throw, make the big-time run. So this Bills team looks completely different than it has in the past because there's no one. It's not like the Baker and OBJ where OBJ, you felt like you always had to get him the ball. Same with Stephon Diggs. It looked like he always needed to have the football. This is different. He's getting it to Shakir. He's getting it to Keon Coleman, Mac Hollins, Curtis Samuel, MVS. He's moving the ball around incredibly well. And think about this. I think this is the first time in a very long time. It might be the first time in his entire career. The first 3 games, he has 0 interceptions. That's massive for Josh Allen because he turns the ball over a lot.
Yeah, he's having a great season. As I say, he's the leading candidate for the MVP.
As he should be. Right now, he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and the Bills look like one of the best teams, too. Maybe this is their year. And we didn't think so at the beginning of the year because of the players they lost on defense and the wide receiver core without Diggs. Now, the names that they have weren't household names. They did draft a Coleman. He got a touchdown last night. And Allen is spreading the ball around. He's TDs by 6 different receivers. So they look great, I think. And they're 3-0. Look at the rest of the division now. Like the Jets maybe will be their competition in the division. It looks like Miami, Tua, hurt, and now even Skylar Thompson hurt, and the Patriots, they were exposed against the Jets. They really did not look good at all. So I think the Bills are going to win the division. I didn't think so going into the season here now, but it looks to me like they're going to be very tough to stop.
I completely agree. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, the Cowboys, they nearly mounted a 22-point comeback, and it's not a good sign for the Ravens to keep basically choking double-digit fourth-quarter leads. Not a good sign, as well as Antonio Pierce made an interesting comment and then doubled down on that comment. We'll talk about that right after this break.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Stephen Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic, which is indeed the Dallas Cowboys and the Baltimore Ravens. This actually was a very, very close game, and it came down to a late run by Lamar Jackson, even though at one point in this game, late in this game, entering the fourth quarter, the Ravens were up 28-6. And then Dak Prescott and I guess on the Baltimore Ravens part, Dak Prescott just completely lit it up on the field. While the Ravens couldn't get the offense going, playing very conservative, and didn't seem like, or at least it appeared to be, that they were going to blow another double-digit fourth quarter lead. So after this game, I want to know, has your confidence level changed for either team, both the Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys?
I still think both teams are playoff contenders. I mean, the Cowboys are 1-2, and so are the Ravens. But I think they can step it up, and I do think that given the competition that they're going to be facing going forward, that they're going to have put together some wins. I mean, the Cowboys have the Giants this week. They should be able to win that game. I think the Ravens showed that they could get that running game going. With Lamar and Henry, they were dominant. They had 254 yards in this game. But the Cowboys have shown that they can't stop the run. And that's their main problem, because they have a great pass rush. But if they can't get a team to third down and more than 5 or 6, right, the pass rush is useless. And so that's where the Ravens negated them and made their defense look very weak, giving up all of those running yards. And this has happened to the Cowboys 2 weeks in a row now. They gave up 190 yards to the Saints, and now they gave up 274 yards to the Ravens. And if the Ravens can keep Derrick Henry going the way he was going in this game, they're going to be tough to stop. And I think that, and having Lamar, that he can run at any time, and they get their passing game going a little bit, I think they'll be right back in it. I think the Ravens' problem is allowing teams to get back into the game in the fourth quarter. They were ahead by 10 points last week to the Raiders, and Raiders wound up beating them, and that's because they can't stop anybody in the fourth quarter. They look like Super Bowl contenders in the first 3 quarters of the Dallas game. Lamar and Henry were both having great games. I think part of their problem in the fourth quarter and letting the teams back in the game is the bad pass defense, and they've had a lot of penalties. So it was another nail-biter for the Ravens, continuing to have problems finishing off teams. The 10-point, as I mentioned, a 10-point lead against the Raiders in the fourth quarter. Nearly let a 22-point lead slip away against the Cowboys. They're outscored 39-17 in the fourth quarter. But Lamar Jackson against the NFC, unstoppable, 21-1. He's getting plenty of help from his receivers. They had 146 yards after the catch in his first 11 attempts, and his air time was only 2.1 yards. So he was dinking and dunking, but the receivers were finding a way to get a lot of yards after the catch. On Dallas's side, they're lucky they're playing the Giants, I think, on Thursday night, because Prescott has beat them 12 times in a row. I think the best Cowboys weapon right now is Brandon Aubrey. He had a 65-yard field goal in this game. And last week, he had a 66-yarder, but time ran out before they kicked the ball, and he didn't get credit for it. He was lined up to try a 71-yarder, and they took him off the field and didn't allow him to get it. I wish they had. He might have hit that field goal. On offense, I think the problem with the Cowboys is they can't score touchdowns. They can't run the ball effectively or make big plays. They have this running back by committee, which has got a bunch of no-names, and Ezekiel Elliott, who is a little bit past his prime. Why don't they bring up Dalvin Cook? They have him on the taxi squad. Why not bring him up and give him a try? I don't think he could do any worse. In the past 2 games, the opposing quarterbacks have only missed on 8 passes against the Cowboys. That's because they're throwing the ball on first and second down, and they're not having they're running the ball a lot, and they're not having to get into the third down situations. As I mentioned, it negates the Cowboys' pass rush. They got to find a way to fix that. Dak Prescott, 192 yards in the first 3 quarters of Sunday's game, 187 in the fourth quarter. They need to get that offense going a little bit sooner in the game. So as I said, I think they're both still playoff contenders. I think they're going to get better as the season goes on. I think the Ravens got that first win. That was really a must-win for them. If they'd gone 0-3, their chances of making the playoffs look very dim. And I think for them to get to the Super Bowl, they have to have the bye like they did last year. They have to have home field all the way through to bring the Kansas City Chiefs into their stadium again in the playoffs. So it's going to be tough for them now at 1-2. It's a long way to go, and I'm not sure they'll get there. On the Cowboys, on the other hand, it's going to be between them and the Eagles and in their division, as it has been for the last few years. Last year they won 12 games. The Eagles are off to a pretty good start. They're 2-1. They beat the Saints down in New Orleans. The Saints starting off very good, but the Eagles defense showed up in that game, and they shut down the Saints. And Saquon Barkley again having another nice game for the Eagles. So I think it will be between them and the Eagles and the Cowboys in the NFC East, as it has been for quite a few years now. I'm not sure exactly who will win that right now. I'm going to wait and see another few games before I make a decision on that.
Well, I think when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, my confidence level doesn't really change because this hasn't really squandered anything, any concerns from me because they nearly did it again. Since the Ravens hired John Harbaugh back in 2008, he's given up 10 double-digit fourth-quarter leads. 9. Leads the league, leads the NFL. How? That's bad coaching. Lamar Jackson even called out some of his coaching in the post-game press conference, or post-game when the announcer on the field interviews you. He called it out because this was a direct quote from Lamar Jackson. The game's not over until it's 0 on the clock. I didn't like how things were going towards the end. I thought we should have put more points on the board. We should have put gas on the pedal when we were up 28-6, and that's what I was thinking. You can't play conservative ever. This is the NFL. With Tom Brady even announcing this game, it was nearly a 28-3 repeat, except in this case it would have been 28-6, a little bit easier. But this, basically, we've seen this before. The Ravens go up big, they go in cruise control, the other team takes over and eventually wins. We literally saw it last week with the Raiders versus the Ravens. The Raiders pulled out an incredible victory, 26-23. This was a must-win for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think anyone can dispute that. Nobody can argue that. Going down 0-2 in the history of the Baltimore Ravens, they've never made the playoffs going 0-2. So this was a must-win. And what did I say? What was going to be the key piece? We talked about this on Friday's show, I believe. What would have been the key piece for the Baltimore Ravens to come out and win this game? Run the damn football. And that's exactly what they did. This was the perfect recipe to beat the Dallas Cowboys, who have the worst rushing defense in the NFL, dead last. They ran it 45 times for 274 yards, 6.1 yards an attempt, and 3 touchdowns. Lamar dinked and dunked his way through, but he was effective enough to go 12-15, 182 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Lamar was great. The running attack was exactly what the Ravens needed to do. And what's kind of funny is with Todd Monken, it was always, okay, let's focus on the pass, let's develop the passing game a little bit, and then let's add the run as a complement to that. Lamar can scramble if he gets under duress, which we saw in Week 1, which we saw in the AFC Championship game, although there should have been more scrambles in that game. But they refused to run the ball in that. But in this game, it looked very Greg Roman-esque. Let's just run the football all the time. Derrick Henry, I know John Harbaugh said we didn't get Derrick Henry in the building to run 30 times. Well, yeah, I guess it's close enough. John Harbaugh's technically correct, but because Derrick Henry only ran it 25 times for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. As the game keeps going, Derrick Henry's production increases. You have to keep it going. The Ravens do need to revert back to their old ways. Run the football. It's what works best. You do not have an offensive line that could sustain the deep throw, that could hold up for a long enough period to have routes open up. We saw that in Week 1. We saw that in Week 2. The right side of the offensive line needs help. The right interior side of the offensive line desperately needs help. So you need to run the football better. And that's exactly what they did in this one. Like I said, 274 yards in Dallas's house. And also had 3 touchdowns. What I find crazy is that Jerry Jones was asked, again, why didn't you sign Derrick Henry? And he said we couldn't afford it. What do you mean you can't afford it? You didn't spend anything in the offseason. You got Dak, a $60 million quarterback. You paid CeeDee Lamb $34 million per year. You can't pay Derrick Henry $8 for 1 year. I think that's a little bit of a cop-out answer. They definitely could have afforded Derrick Henry. I think Jerry Jones just want to be like, oh no, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. I think, Dak Prescott, he'll do perfectly fine.
I say they give Dalvin Cook a try.
Dalvin Cook is washed.
Well, I don't know. I think his legs ought to be fresh. He hasn't run the ball much in 2 years now.
Yeah, you thought that on the Jets side, and he was very,
he
very
never
bad
really
on the
got
Jets.
much of a chance with them.
He had 13 games, I think, with the Jets.
Yeah, but they handed him the ball like maybe 2-3 times a game. He didn't really get much of a chance. I say, why not give him a chance? Look at these other guys that they have. The no-name guys and Elliott. That's it. And they aren't getting it done. The running game stinks. So
it does.
And it's too much pressure on Prescott when that happens. I think Prescott can be really elite when he has the ability to do the play action and have a running game that will keep the defense off guard instead of just zeroing in on him and CeeDee Lamb. That's a losing formula for them. They're not going anywhere that way.
But when it comes to my confidence level of the Cowboys, it's plummeting. It's absolutely plummeting.
Well,
they're
need to
1-2, but that's because Brandon Aubrey contributed 18 points in game 1.
No,
they got obliterated by the Saints, and they got essentially obliterated through 3 quarters against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
The Ravens just did what they normally do: blow or nearly blow double-digit fourth quarter leads.
Cowboys need to figure out that run defense. That's their Achilles heel right now.
Good luck. I think that's just about effort. Micah Parsons is doing okay, but if you look at the numbers, he's actually one of the worst pass rushers in the league.
That's because he's not getting a chance. They don't have. There's no opportunities to pass rush when they don't even have a third down. They run the ball and get first downs all the way down the field without having have to go to a third down.
I'll also say though, Tyler Guyton, their first round pick, does not look good. He got terrorized the entire game. Brady was calling it out. There were a couple penalties on Guyton as well. He just kept getting beat on the left side. That's a problem. That's a pretty massive problem. But yeah, Dak Prescott played okay late. It was a lot of garbage time until it didn't become garbage time anymore, and they had an opportunity. He had 2 passing and 1 rushing in the fourth quarter. I mean, the comeback, I came into the room where you were watching. I literally said, are the Ravens about to do it again? Yeah. And they nearly were. They got him to, a 3rd and 6, and then he had Zay Flowers for like a 9-yard gain, and then 2 plays later, you had Lamar Jackson making a great run to essentially seal the game for the Ravens. But the fact that it was this close, it's not a good sign. But my stock for the Cowboys, my faith in the Cowboys to do what they always do and win 12 games as they have the past 3 seasons, I don't believe that. And I think with the way Washington has the worst secondary in the league. They put up 38 points against the Cincinnati Bengals. And according to PFF, Jaden Daniels had the highest grade for Week 3. The Commanders haven't punted in 2 games. I would seriously consider putting them above the Dallas Cowboys in the NFCs. And the Giants look good now. Daniel Jones is actually playing pretty well. If we're going to be honest,
quarterback ranking is up. I think he's 19 right now.
Yeah, no, if we're being completely honest here, and we try to be impartial here as much as we can. Just don't look at the backgrounds here of some Patriots things. But if we're being impartial, Daniel Jones has played well the past 2 weeks. I think there's a little bit of context.
It is a mistake the Giants made.
The second half of the Browns game, Deshaun Watson couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
No,
it was bad. It was
he's
very
terrible
bad.
Anyway. So I think the Giants made a huge mistake in not bringing back Barkley.
Yep.
Because now they found they have a star in Malik Neighbors.
Oh, he's incredible.
Right? He's incredible. I mean, Daniel Jones, he's making Daniel Jones a much better quarterback.
Yep.
Daniel Jones is throwing the ball outside anybody else's catch radius, right? And Malik Neighbors finds a way to catch it.
Yeah.
And those touchdown catches he had, they were great. Those are highlight reels.
Beautiful.
That guy is something. He's a special guy.
Absolutely.
He's a generational talent. Maybe if he can stay healthy.
100%.
And if they had Barkley to help him in the running game, and they could have had him for an extra $250,000. That's all he wanted. That was a huge mistake.
I agree.
And now they could have had a number 1 pass and a number 1 run, and now they have. Who knows where, Devin Singletary. He's an average back. He's not somebody people are going to worry that much about. Now they can focus more on Neighbors now that they see what he can do. it's going to make it much harder on Jones.
To give you the number of the rushing attack, according to PFF, the ranking grade for the New York Giants is all the way at 24th. They're the 24th best run team.
Yeah.
According to PFF.
Yeah, and they've been much higher than that when they had Barkley.
Oh, absolutely.
And look at the way Barkley's playing this year.
He's playing incredible.
He's playing great.
He's right now the number one running back.
The game. He was the reason they won the game last week.
Absolutely. He scored the only two
Saints.
touchdowns that the Eagles scored.
And he scored most of their touchdowns already. He had 3 in the first game.
He's been incredible.
He dropped the ball in the last game that would have won the game.
He would have won the game. Yeah, he would have been the reason for game 2. Yeah.
But one play doesn't make a game.
Correct. In that one, actually, no, technically, because Kirk Cousins just tore up the defense in the last drive. That's fair. Yeah, but no, the Commanders look very good. The Giants are surprisingly good right now. I think the Dallas Cowboys are in fear, or should be worried about slipping to 4th and dead last in the division.
I think the Giants could potentially upset the Cowboys, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
Your score might say a little bit different.
No, I think they're going to win, and I think it's going to be tough for the Giants. Yeah. But it's possible. It's possible for an upset, but I'm not.
We just saw the Panthers beat the Raiders. We saw the Raiders beat the Ravens.
Yeah, there's a lot of parity in the NFL this year.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into our next topic here, which is quite interesting. So Antonio Pierce in the postgame, they ended up losing to the Carolina Panthers and Andy Dalton in a 36-22 loss. It was pretty ugly. Gardner Minshew couldn't see the field, no running attack. Andy Dalton was absolutely tearing up the Raiders' defense. So here is him postgame, and then the following day discussing his comment about needing to make some business decisions in response to what he thought the players were making business decisions. Take a listen.
No, they didn't. I think as the game went on, I don't think it was a team. I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions, and we'll make business decisions going forward as well. Just kind of looking back, I think all of us, myself, the staff, it's just got to be better. It's got to be better.
AP, after the game, you talked about the Raiders having to make business decisions. And have you made any of those yet?
No, we haven't. Got to give it to the players first.
Obviously, a lot was made of that comment. National media-wise this morning. I guess as you think about it, are you happy that you pointed it out?
I don't bite my tongue.
So I want to know, do you have any problem with Antonio Pierce's comment?
A lot. I think he needs to go to the Bill Belichick School of Coaching. You don't call out your players in the media, in front of the media, or in public. You do it behind closed doors. You got an issue with the way the guys are playing, and they're not. You don't think they're giving their all. You do that behind closed doors. You can do it with the rest of the team there. You can call out individuals then, but you don't do it in public and the media. You're going to lose the locker room by doing that. I think that's a huge mistake on their part. And by the way, Antonio, your power ranking's number 28, so it's not all the players. I would say you got to take a look in the mirror too. Maybe the coaching staff needs to take on some of the blame here. The win against the Ravens, that was big, but I think it was more the Ravens giving it away than the Raiders winning it. I mean, we just talked about the problems that the Ravens have in the fourth quarter, and they were up by 10 against the Raiders and gave it away. So I'm not so sure it was the Raiders being great. It was the Ravens just having that problem that they've got to do something to correct. I think the defense is too Max Crosby dependent, and when he's banged up, as he was this week, the results can be really eye-opening and terrible. I mean, against the Panthers, right? Andy Dalton in there, 36-year-old quarterback, lighting them up. And the Panthers, who only scored 13 points so far this year before this game, and giving up 73, huh? And they light up the Raiders. I think that's I'd put a lot of that on the coaches. The offense is too reliant on the passing game, which is kind of odd for a team with a quarterback questions, even taking into account the Raiders have pass catching talent, which they have some very good wide receivers with Adams in there. I guess Minshew is still the number one quarterback, but you saw O'Connell was in there in the game, and he played pretty well. They put up 15 points at the end, but it was garbage time. I think the Panthers were just playing prevent, letting them move the ball down the field to chew up the time. They were just running out the game. I think if the Raiders can't beat the Browns, and they should be able to beat them, but they're terrible, or the Broncos, so the Broncos are looking a little better here. I mean, their defense is good, and now Bo Nix is starting to get the hang of it. Probably another lost season for the Raiders, I think. You look at the Panthers, they were ahead 27-7 at the end of the third quarter. Dalton, 70% completion percentage, 319 yards, 3 TDs. He was number one for passers in week 3. They had a 100-yard rusher in Chuba Hubbard. He had 114 yards, and a 100-yard receiver in Deontay Johnson, who had 122 yards and a TD. So, I'm not sure what it means to making business decisions out on the field. You're making a business decision. You want another team to want you and give you a big contract. Doesn't mean you start tanking out on the field and giving up on the game. Who would want you if you did that? I don't understand that comment, actually.
Well, when it comes to and apparently the reference was about the defensive effort. Andy Dalton just cooked. Like this is one of the games where you just kind of throw in the towel and say, they got us this time. And yeah, the business decisions are you at that point you want to stay healthy. Why are you leaving starters out there when you're down by like 30? So I could kind of understand the point where people take their foot off the gas defensively and offensively. Because you weren't in the game really at any point because Dalton just tore up your bad defense. According to Pro Football Focus, if you go look at their coverage rankings, it's dead last. If you go to their pass rush rankings, it's basically towards the bottom, actually. It's 24th. If you look at their rush defense, it's pretty bad as well. So right now, the Raiders are just not doing a really good job on any phase of the game. But I think that if he's calling out the defensive effort, I think that's a little bit unfair. Because I think, as we said earlier, nobody liked our take then. First of all, just want to call this out. They're not a playoff team. Yes, they beat the Baltimore Ravens when they force-fed Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers. You did a great job, but the Ravens are known for doing that. You just got cooked by Andy Dalton. So I don't think the Raiders are a playoff team. Are they a feisty team? No, because I think you have a quarterback issue. And as everybody knows, the quarterback is the most important position and the hardest position in football. So I decided to look at the All-22. Let's analyze some film, shall we? So this is one play that I actually don't like at all. Standing in the pocket, looking nervous, not really seeing anything, ends up stepping up and gets sacked. So no one play right. Look at Devontae Adams in the slot. He's wide open. And actually in this play, there's 3 open receivers. Gardner Minshew misses all of them and decides, you know what, let me just roam around like a headless chicken and get sacked. There was another play in this game, which we're going to bring up right now. This is another angle of it. Devontae Adams is wide open. He looks at him. Fire the football. He's open. You can't wait for him to get so wide open. This next play, same thing. Look at the seam. I think it's Michael Mayer. He goes right up the middle. Go for it. Throw the football. There's going to be multiple angles of this as well. There he is. He's open. Throw it. He's not under so much duress you can't see it. He just gives up on it. And he's actually open when it breaks down. It's an open play. Fire it. He looks nervous. He's not even really getting pressured in a sense of there's people surrounding him. He's just scared. It looks like he's seeing ghosts. I mean, the offensive line, yes, while it was sort of collapsing, none of the Panthers' pass rushers were breaking through. It was all just, and he could have just stepped out of the pocket. Like on that last one, he stepped back, then stepped forward. There's left and right as well. But there were multiple receivers that he just completely missed. That isn't coaching. That is just bad quarterback play. And how about this? If you have a problem with the lack of effort, coach harder. Belichick would never accept this. He had business decisions. Right now, nothing's been made. He said he got to talk to his players. Well, you're the one that talked about them apparently making business decisions. So why would the players say, oh yeah, my bad, I didn't want to put effort in? That makes you lose your job. You're going to get released.
I just think, when you say something like that, you don't call out. Number one, again, you shouldn't do that in the press. You can call the players out in the locker room individually and tell them, I'm concerned about your play. You are not giving your all. That's our view of and get their feedback and talk about it and try to straighten it out. What do the players think now? If they don't know who it is, they'll think, it's me. Is it me? Am I the one? I'm not sure. I feel like I'm giving 100%. He's going to lose the locker room.
Well, people started pointing at Jack Jones because there was a couple plays. One that he overcommitted on. The other one was just, playing contained, so it wasn't his objective to go out and tackle. He was just making sure the pass catcher doesn't get to the outside and beat him. And people were calling out Jack Jones for the lack of effort. Jack Jones did an okay job. He was trying his best out there. I just really think this was Andy Dalton having a great game, over 300 yards, 70% completion percentage. He was getting the ball out quick. His time to throw was the quickest in week 3. So he was getting the ball to the open receiver, a lot of short passes, very simple stuff. The defense could not get set. The offense couldn't get anything going. Zamir White, like we talked about before the season started. The Raiders have the worst running attack in the NFL. Zamir White and Alexander Mattison. I don't think you can name a worse running back tandem than the Las Vegas Raiders. That's just the facts. Right now, a lot of teams have at least a decent running back one. Right now, the Raiders, and again, in the rankings, are dead last. Dead last in their running room. Their running back room. So, I don't want to hear it. Zamir White, Alexander Mattison. Right now, you go to any other team and say, hey, you want to swap running back rooms? I get your 1 and 2. You get Alexander Mattison and Zamir White. How many teams are going to be saying yes to this? I don't think many, no. if any.
Maybe the Cowboys.
Maybe the Cowboys. Rico Dowdle, although I will say they're 29th. So even Rico Dowdle and Zeke Elliott are not as bad.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. The Raiders are a bad team. This is all about coaching. For the lack of effort, that's coaching. Yes, it could be a personal thing. Then get rid of them.
If you see players out in the field you don't think are performing, pull them out.
Put it in
the next guy.
Seen.
Next man up.
Mike Tomlin's done that. Gerard Mayo's already done that. He's done it where players make mistakes. He sees the lack of effort out there. And guess what? The next series, they're not in there. So that's a coaching thing.
Yeah.
Coach harder.
Yeah, I think he made a huge mistake by those comments and
I don't care
saying
about
that
it in the media. It's just why are you calling it like your defense? Well, by the way, we got ripped on that for saying that their defense isn't as good as it appears. Yes, you have Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins. So the offensive lines that you play aren't that bad. So I'm confused. The comment, while yes. The business decisions part, we'll see what the decisions are that come out of this when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it shouldn't be a defensive thing, a lack of defensive effort. I think it's just bad quarterback play. And yet Aiden O'Connell actually kind of looked good. He actually had a touchdown in this game. He didn't play too poorly.
Yeah.
But what does it say that he's not benching Gardner Minshew? And also, it's week 3. It's the 3rd week of the season.
You're right.
I mean, like, we right now, the Saints look pretty good. The Cowboys look terrible. We have questions about the Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals are 0-3 and just lost to the Washington Commanders. It's week 3. Nothing is really established. I have no problem if you say this in like mid-November.
Yeah.
But to say it after 3 weeks, and by the way, you just beat the Ravens.
Yeah, the preseason.
Unless your expectations are, okay, we beat the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to do the same thing next week. And you know what? That's our level. No, it isn't.
To me, the first 4 games of the season now are kind of like the end of the preseason. Because the preseason now, they don't let them practice as much as they used to. They're protecting the players. They only have 3 games now instead of 4. And you could see it. The first few games here, there have been a lot of mistakes, sloppy play. A lot
of running versus passing.
Yeah. And there's only been a few 300-yard passers.
I think there's been, I think Andy Dalton is the only one.
No, Caleb Williams had 363
He didn't have 3.
yards.
Oh, I was thinking 3 touchdowns as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's the only one that did that.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's the only one that did that. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's. Are we surprised that the Raiders are kind of bad? Yes, they beat the Ravens, but the Ravens have a history of blowing fourth quarter leads. So every time you enter the fourth quarter and you're up by 10 or more, I don't think a lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, no, we're fine as Ravens fans. Oh, yeah, we're fine. We got this game in the bag. No, you have a history of blowing fourth quarter leads. And there's always an upset always.
I think they're going to find a way to correct that. That's something that's very obvious now, and they're going to try to correct it, just like I think the Cowboys will find a way to correct the running game, the defense against the run.
There's always at least one upset per week. The Ravens-Raiders was the upset. Think about this week. Bo Nix looked like a very confident quarterback against the Buccaneers.
I thought that was
the
an upset.
Giants upset the Cleveland Browns.
There were some upsets.
Both those games were 6.5-point favorites for the home team. I guess
I got those wrong.
We both did. But I don't care about the comment really. I just think that if you're going to be talking about the defensive lack of effort, look at your quarterback. He couldn't see the field. He was under pressure when he wasn't under pressure.
Now, if the Raiders get beat by the Browns, I think that's it for them. I think they'll be. It's just another lost season for them. If they can't beat the Browns, then I think their season's going to be lost.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, how do you feel about your 5-12 Bears prediction that you got absolutely ripped on? I think you should feel pretty good right now. As well as Thursday Night Football, Cowboys at Giants. Should the Cowboys fear a New York Football Giants upset? We'll talk about that right after this short break.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic. So Caleb Williams has not had the best start to his NFL career so far, but he is improving week to week. In this past game against the Indianapolis Colts, he had 363 yards, and also he also scored his first NFL touchdown. Congratulations. But he did have 3 giveaways. Definitely not ideal. There's a little bit of a backstory to the reason of this topic. Because a couple months ago, you made a little bit of a hot take at the time, saying that the Bears would go 5-12. Now, what's actually kind of interesting is you first started with Titans win over the Titans, loss over the Houston Texans, and then a win over the Colts. So far, it's win, loss, loss. So they're actually doing worse than you've predicted so far. So I want to know, how do you feel about your 5-12 prediction so far through 3 weeks?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. Yeah. In fact, maybe I was too generous. Maybe they're going to be 4-13 now.
Wow.
Yeah. I looked at the remaining schedule, and as you pointed out, they did win their opener, but it was against Tennessee, and Tennessee is just awful. Houston, they played them tough. They lost 19-13. And the Colts, they were in that game too, 21-16. So the games have been close, and they won one of them. And the defense is ranked 8th. That's good. They've given up 286, almost 287 yards a game. They've given up 6 TDs. You compare that to the Steelers, who are number 1. They're giving up 230 yards a game, and they've only given up 2 TDs. Man, they're looking great. The Bears power ranking is number 24. They dropped a notch. They were 23 the week before. I think there'd be a lot less pressure on Williams if the Bears had a running game, but they don't. They seem to be getting. He seems to be getting more comfortable each week. Still too many costly mistakes, though. The pass protection remains an issue. Williams' pocket feel, his decision making, have a lot of room for improvement. And the offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, he still seems to be finding his way. There's a lot of injuries on offense. So you put all that together here, and you look at the remaining schedule and the power rankings of those teams that they're going to be playing the way they are right now. And the Colts are ranked number 18 power ranking, and they lost to them. The Rams are number 19. I think that'll be a close game. They may have a shot in that game, but I don't think they're going to win that one. The Panthers, they're ranked number 31, but now they found life with Andy Dalton. And I think that I don't think they'll win that game, actually. I think the Panthers are going to go on some sort of run here and win some games. The Commanders, I think they have a shot in that game. Jaden Daniels is looking like he's a winner and a good player. But the Commanders have a lot of other issues. I think they'll find a way to win that game. I think they'll also beat the Cardinals, and I think they'll beat the Patriots. But that's it. As I said before, very early on, before we had anything, They're going to lose out the rest of the season, and I think that's still what's going to happen because the Packers are ranked number 7, the Vikings are ranked number 3, the Lions are ranked number 4, the 49ers are ranked 12, and I think they'll move up once they get healthy. The Vikings are ranked number 3, the Lions, again, ranked 4, the Seahawks are ranked 11th, and the Packers, again, at the end, 7th. Those teams are much stronger than the Bears, who are ranked 24 right now. Unless Caleb Williams finds a way to be a world beater out there, and maybe it's possible. I mean, he played a lot better this week. His quarterback rating was 81. His QBR through 3 weeks, though, was 26.5. Just remember, Justin Fields, his QBR is 47. So you said goodbye to him for a 6th-round pick. The Steelers are undefeated, and Justin Fields has been playing great football. Yes. So don't forget that. Jaden Daniels, the other rookie quarterbacks ranked, he's 48, and Bo Nix 53. Not bad. Bo Nix.
He's improving.
Yeah. Malik Willis.
Yeah, no.
Ranked number 1 at 89, but he's only played
crazy.
2 games. That's crazy, right? Josh Allen, number 3 at 85. The QBR, I like that ranking.
It's 0 to 100, and it's an ESPN thing that also puts in defenses.
I like
and
it because
it
measures each play's degree of success and how much the credit the quarterback deserves for that play. It takes into account the strength of the opposing defense face. So I like it a lot better than the passing rating.
Well, the passer rating is like attempts, completions, interceptions, touchdowns. It's very statistical based. ESPN is kind of a little bit subjective, but I do think it does a pretty good job normally.
Yeah, I think that Williams did make a big step in this game, even though he had 2 interceptions. He had a bunch of passes that were overthrown. I think you've got some examples of it here. Watch this.
These are all deep passes.
Look at this.
That one is a mile away.
That's a mile off. Well, who is he throwing that to? Look at this one.
A couple of these.
He's got plenty of time.
That one,
Way
I
off.
miscommunication maybe.
I don't
and
know.
this one late in the second quarter, try to get it in there.
Yeah.
Not really that great.
Not even close. So I think he's got a sack problem too. He gets sacked quite a bit. His turnovers are way too high. The run game doesn't offer much support for him. He has good receivers, Moore, Odunze, and Kemet. So if he can really get it going, then maybe they'll win a few more games. But they've got a tough schedule, particularly in the second half of the year. I'm sticking by my
5-12.
My what I said. Yeah.
Well, I'll wait right now. Week 6 versus the Jaguars. Who wins that game? Bears or Jaguars?
The Jaguars.
Because it goes Rams, Panthers, Jaguars, bye week, Commanders, Cardinals, Patriots.
There's a chance the Bears could win that one.
That would get them to 5. I need to know definite, though. Rams?
That would get them to 5.
Next week.
They aren't going to beat the Rams.
So that's a loss, though.
I don't think they're going to beat the Panthers.
That's a change. You had them beating the Panthers before.
Yeah, but now the Panthers have found new life with
Right. Okay. Next, Jaguars. Who wins? Trevor Lawrence looks terrible. Let's be honest.
I think that where are they playing the game?
That is versus the Jaguars at home.
I think the Jaguars are going to win that one.
Okay, so that remains the same. Commanders.
Yeah. Commanders, I think they win.
The Commanders win or Bears win?
The Bears.
Okay, Bears win. And then Cardinals.
I think the Bears win that one.
Okay, that's a change.
Yeah.
And then the Patriots, you have them win.
Patriots
Okay.
have them winning.
So that's interesting. Okay.
But don't you agree? The Packers, Vikings, Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, and Packers?
No,
those teams are all very strong teams.
No. I
Even
agree
Malik Willis is winning.
Right.
But the Packers are winning with Malik Willis.
And that's incredible. When we came into the season, I think it's rightfully so to look at the Vikings and say they have Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold's history at that moment was bounce around quarterback, seeing ghosts in New York, complete bust. Yes. And now if we look at it, saying that, the Vikings are now just a pushover, the Bears have a shot. When you look at the two teams and how they perform, no. Brian Flores has done an incredible job with the Vikings defense. They have shut down the 49ers. They've completely shut down the 49ers. They made the Texans look pedestrian.
Yeah.
7 points allowed with Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz. So the Vikings are no longer a pushover team. What Matt LaFleur has done for Malik Willis, I mean,
Matt LaFleur is an excellent coach.
100%. He's an incredible coach because Malik Willis was literally a pushover. He got it for a 7th-round pick.
Even his passing was good this
he was
past week.
playing he was playing absolutely incredible.
That's because they had the run game going. You got to have the passing game to work. You need a running game.
I completely agree. But let's be honest here. We thought, at least some people, we both thought and everybody thought that the weapons were incredible. That is indisputable when you look at Rome Odunze coming into the NFL, what his potential was. Keenan Allen, what he could be, although he's been banged up. Cole Kmet, a very good tight end. DeAndre Swift had a pretty good year with Philadelphia. DJ Moore, 1,000-yard receiver basically every season. It looked like a good team. But there was one glaring hole that I mentioned that I got ridiculed for. The offensive line is young and not that great. And what's the massive problem with the Chicago Bears? The offensive line is not that great.
Yeah, look at the sacks they're giving up.
Right. Caleb Williams does not have a lot of time. And in this game, albeit, he was only pressured on 23% of his dropbacks. But in the course of the entire season, he hasn't had much time to throw. But I think another massive problem here, and I think it's the biggest problem, is the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. He is a massive liability to this team. Because we heard on Radio Row, JSN talking about it when Shane Waldron got hired by the Chicago Bears, and he did not have a high recommendation and a high approval rating of Shane Waldron. He was actually kind of radio silent when asked the question about the signing. So Shane Waldron doesn't draw up great plays, running schemes are not that great, and I just think all around, the offensive line, I think, is the major flaw of this team because the defense is the reason why they beat the Titans. There's a very good shot if Will Levis doesn't, if he uses his brain and doesn't throw it backwards, essentially, and throw a bad interception.
Yeah. He had a pick six in that game,
Yeah.
Will Levis.
It was a horrible throw to the left side when he's falling down.
That was the difference of the game. It was 24-17.
Right.
The pick six was the difference.
Right. So the defense is completely fine. The defense will do what it is. And let's also add this. The Colts were giving you the game. Anthony Richardson also has been like the second worst quarterback, and I think at this point, among active starting quarterbacks, is the worst because Bryce Young right now is benched. Anthony Richardson is the worst quarterback in the NFL right now. Bryce Young is benched. It's just Anthony Richardson's not. He has a horrible completion percentage. He has the most interceptions in the NFL. The Colts were giving you the game. And you couldn't take it because late in the game, things got pretty bad for Caleb Williams. Pressure was getting to him. He wasn't able to complete a lot of passes. It did not look that great. Shane Waldron, I think, is on a fire seat right now. I think that if it keeps going like the way it is, I think three things will happen. Shane Waldron gets fired, Matt Eberflus gets fired, and they draft a lot of offensive linemen in the upcoming draft, which they should already do because this is just embarrassing.
I think Eberflus is not a very good coach.
And also, what did I say going into the season? DeAndre Swift was okay with the Lions. Really good with the Eagles. What was the massive problem? Lions had an okay offensive line. Eagles had a top 3 offensive line. The Bears had a bottom 10 offensive line. So I said entering this year, DeAndre Swift will be as good as the offensive line that he has, which right now is bottom of the barrel.
And I'd say Caleb Williams, he does show that he's improving, but to beat up on the Colts, and get 363 yards against them, I want to see a few more games before I say he's on his way to stardom.
Oh, that's another thing, too. The Colts. How the hell don't you run well against the Colts? They just got obliterated. They got run against. I want to make sure I get the number correct when it comes to the Colts. They gave up 261 rushing yards against the Green Bay Packers. That was Malik Willis' first start. And in this game, you run it 28 times for 63 yards, 2.3 yards a carry. And what's worse is, with 55 non-quarterback rushing yards on 27 carries. That's 1.5 yards per run. 5.1 yards. And this is one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts. And Anthony Richardson was giving you the ball. Anthony Richardson plays like it's Madden, just deep bombs away, try to get one-play touchdowns all the time. They were gifting you this game and couldn't get it done. That's on bad offensive line. That's bad play calling. That's bad coaching. Caleb Williams, and that's the good thing. It's not like week 1 where they couldn't complete a pass. Now, completion percentage definitely needs to be improved on. But he's improving. He's getting more yards. He's looking better, seeing the field a little bit better.
How many games do you think they'll win? I think you had him at 7 games.
I had him at 7 games. If Bryce Young was out there, I think definitely they would beat the Panthers. My concern is the secondary of the Rams is one of the worst in the NFL. Also, the offensive line is also abysmal.
The Rams just beat the 49ers.
I understand, but that was such a weird game. Such a weird game.
But they did beat the 49ers.
I think Jacksonville, they have an opportunity to beat Jacksonville because the Jaguars can't score. They average under 15 points a game. Like it's very, very bad. I honestly think your Commanders pick of them being the Command, I think that's well up in the air. They have the worst secondary and outscored Joe Burrow. Jaden Daniels, I think, had 92% completion percentage.
Maybe the Bengals are terrible.
I think that's a decent shot at being the case. All right, let's get into our final topic here, which is Thursday Night Football. Giants, Cowboys. Cowboys have won, 12 straight games against the New York Giants. But although Daniel Jones, after a horrible start against a Vikings team, which turns out that they're a pretty damn good team, it looks like he's bounced back a little bit, finally getting a win after a pretty crippling loss against the Washington Commanders after the Giants didn't have a kicker and had to go for a couple two-point conversions, which they didn't convert, while the Cowboys almost came back from 22 under against the Baltimore Ravens in the fourth quarter, nearly mounting a 22-point comeback, but overall have not been able to stop the run, being dead last in that, while the Giants actually have a pretty efficient running attack, rushing for 120 rush yards per game in the last two games. So I want to know, do you think the Cowboys should be on upset alert and fear that the New York Football Giants can stop that 12-game streak?
Well, I've said this earlier. I think it's possible, but not probable. I think the Cowboys are going to win this one. They've been dominant against the Giants. I think they're going to double Malik Neighbors now. They see that he's a star. It showed in this game, his ability to catch the ball anywhere near him. It was amazing, and they're not going to allow that to happen. And who else are the Giants going to go to? The rest of their receiver core is pedestrian, really. So the running game for the Giants has been good the last couple of weeks. You got Devin Singletary back there. He's a lunch pail back, I guess. He's somebody who is he's a workhorse, but is he a star? I'm not so sure. And the Giants' defense maybe stepping up a little bit after starting out pretty poor. They should have a very good, one of the best defensive lines. It showed up a little bit in this game last week. Before that, it was not Burns and Thibodeau. Yeah, not doing much of anything. They're stepping up a little bit. It could be a close game. I don't have it that close. I have the Cowboys beating them just based on the way the Cowboys have played them. They're going to be very confident going into the game. Dak Prescott plays great against them. He's going to find CeeDee Lamb for a couple of TDs probably, and maybe the Cowboys find a little bit of a running game. They've got to figure that out.
Well, I think overall, let's get your score. What's your score?
30-17.
30-17. I'm also going to agree with you because I think this is a moment where you just got embarrassed and you need to bounce back. I think history would say that the Cowboys have this game in the bag. Last time we really saw the Giants play the Cowboys, it was embarrassment after embarrassment because last year, if we remember, they opened the season, I believe, against the New York Giants and blew them out 40-0. I mean, that was just an absolute beatdown, an absolute murder. So, and the second game was 49-17. But I do think that we take a look at how this season has panned out so far for each team, and the Giants started off horrible against a Vikings team that we didn't really expect a lot from because Sam Darnold was their quarterback. But now we take a look at the Vikings, and they have a great defense. Sam Darnold is a top quarterback in the NFL. It looks like Kevin O'Connell, kind of just got rid of all the bad sides of Sam Darnold, and then Brian Flores doing a great job on the defensive side. On the Cowboys, what do we see? Well, you won week one against the Cleveland Browns, where Deshaun Watson didn't play well, and your kicker scored 18 points for you. The offense was not great. Not great at all. And then you followed up with back-to-back performances that were complete duds. You get blown out by the New Orleans Saints in your own house, and then through three quarters, you got blown out and embarrassed by the Baltimore Ravens. So what do I expect from the New York Giants-Cowboys game? I expect the Cowboys to win. But I think what history would tell me is if the Giants can get to Dak Prescott and pressure him, because once again, Tyler Guyton, left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, can't hold up against a decent pass rush. You put Brian Burns, you put Kayvon Thibodeau in there. I think it could definitely cause some problems for Prescott. They do not have an efficient run game. Devin Singletary, I think, will eat up this poor rushing defense that the Cowboys have. I think it's going to be close. I think right now the current point spread is 4.5. I actually have the Giants covering, but the Cowboys do end up getting the win. I have the Cowboys winning 27-23, but I think this game will actually be a lot closer. I understand there's a 12-game streak. I understand it's Daniel Jones, but if you put anything within, I would say, a mile of Malik Neighbors, expect him to catch it. Because what we saw, he had one really bad drop, and it was terrible. But against the Cleveland Browns, he couldn't drop anything. There was a touchdown back left of the end zone. Amazing catch to get up there, high throw, able to bring it down. Yeah. I mean, he was doing incredible things.
He had a sideline catch this past week where the guy was going to intercept it, and he reached over, pulled the guy out of his hand, and got the ball and managed to get his feet in bounds. Really, all his catches seem to be highlight reel stuff.
And Daniel Jones is force-feeding him, which is kind of what you expect because Malik Neighbors is the only real receiver that the Giants have. Wan'Dale Robinson kind of fits in when they're doubling Neighbors. Then you can finally get Wan'Dale involved. Darius Slayton, occasional. Jalen Hyatt needs to get used more. But I think if you keep going to Neighbors and you utilize the running attack, because I do think it'll be open, the offensive line is holding up pretty well. Defensive line is doing an okay job. My only question, Mark, is what happened at the end of the Browns game? Because even though Deshaun Watson, he started off pretty good, but towards the second half, and especially in the fourth quarter, there were opportunities to be had that the Browns could convert and go up by about 1 point, I think, because it was 21-15. They had an opportunity to go up by 1, but Deshaun Watson couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. There were opportunities to be had that I think any normal average quarterback could hit. Deshaun Watson's just a bad quarterback now. I still have yet to see any remnant of Houston Texans Deshaun Watson. I don't see it. I see a guy who can't throw very well anymore. Something is going on. I don't know what it is. Deshaun Watson does not look like a competent quarterback anymore. And what's unfortunate for Browns fans and the Browns organization is unless you don't want to be in cap hell for several years and pay hundreds of millions of dollars, you're stuck with them until the end of the contract.
It's a terrible contract.
Once again, desperate teams do desperate things. They got off Baker Mayfield as sort of an impulse decision when they offered Deshaun Watson $240 million fully guaranteed.
Yeah. One thing I'll say about the Giants game, I think it's key. The Giants have been able to run the ball the last couple of weeks, right? If they can run it against the Cowboys, that could be a problem because that's how the Saints and the Ravens beat the Cowboys.
Right.
Keeping them, the running game, keeping them off balance, not really jeopardizing their pass rush when you can get the first down on 2 plays instead of 3, or have a very short third down because you're able to run the ball. If the Giants can do that, then again, it could be an upset. I think it's possible for an upset, but I still think the Cowboys, just based on the way they played the Giants, Dak Prescott hasn't lost a game to them in the last 12. The Cowboys need to win, really. I mean, they're 1-2. They want to go 1-3.
I find it crazy, and everybody's mentioned this. Whoever covers sports media and stuff like that, people who get paid normally take a step back. How's Brandon Ayuk doing? How's CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott doing? How are some of the receivers that got paid this offseason doing? Not great.
No. Look at the quarterbacks that are leading the league, except Josh Allen's right up there. But you got people like Kyler Murray up there. You've got Justin Fields playing better. You've got Sam Darnold right up at the top. It's really quite surprising. These guys that got these huge contracts. Look at the Bengals, right?
Joe Burrow's not playing well.
Joe Burrow not playing well despite his new hairdo. And the Bengals 0-3.
Yeah.
0-3. Come on, with him back, he's been one of the best quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And although last year he started out crummy, but he started with an injury, and they let him play, which was a mistake. They should have let him get totally healthy, and then he hurt his wrist. He was out the rest of the season, but he hasn't looked really very good at all.
Not at all. When you lose to the worst secondary in the NFL, Well, first of all, your defense is a massive part of that. Your defense could not stop anything. The Commanders have not punted in 2 straight games. Jaden Daniels completed 92% of his throws. You can't let that happen. You have one good pass rusher. Outside of that, you have Cam Taylor-Britt, who is now a loud trash talker, who backed it up on one incredible interception, but he keeps going. That's not a good sign. You have right now, you have nothing to say. Oh, well, we have this. You're 0-3. Your defense couldn't stop a rookie. Like, the Zach Moss is not a great running back. The offensive line, you just lost Trent Brown. I think right now the Bengals are not a great team, and Joe Burrow, he's played okay. Like, he had, 3 touchdowns in this past game, but I think overall it's the Bengals are in danger. I think at this current moment, I think right now, playoffs, there's a shot already that you could be like, yeah, nope, on to the next season. Because this looks bad. Nothing is working for them whatsoever. All right, well, that'll conclude our show for today. We thank you so much for watching today's episode of the Harvey Hour. Clips will be up throughout the week as always. Thursday Night Pick will either be up tomorrow or on Thursday morning. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's been Ed Stephen Harvey. We have been your host of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday for a recap of Thursday Night Football, as well as Week 4's picks. Another winning week of the Harvey Hot Hand. We'll discuss that on Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Hi, Grandpa.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift